You've seen it, haven't you? That look in someone's eyes? Vacant, not innocent, not malicious. Just empty. A human being moving through life with no understanding of the weight of their own actions. And worse, no awareness that they don't understand. It's a chilling realization, because somewhere deep inside, you've known it all along. That the real threat to your peace, to your progress, to your sanity was never just cruelty, it was stupidity. But society never warned you about that. You were told to look out for villains, for liars, for the ambitious and the corrupt. You were taught to spot evil. But you were never taught to spot the stupid. And that's exactly what they've taken over. There's a reason stupidity is so dangerous. It's not because it's loud, or proud, or aggressive. It's because it's invisible. Because unlike evil, stupidity wears no uniform. It has no ideology, no consistent behavior, no predictable logic. It can live in the poor, the rich, the educated, the powerful. It can wear a suit. It can wear a lab coat. It can even smile sweetly while it's burning the whole thing down. The Italian historian Carlo Cipolla understood this decades ago. In an essay so uncomfortable, so piercingly honest, it was hidden behind academic walls for years. He called it the basic laws of human stupidity. But it wasn't satire, it was science. It was a diagnosis of a disease no one wanted to admit they had. And now, more than ever, his warning echoes through history like thunder. His first law is the most terrifying of all. He said, always and inevitably, everyone underestimates the number of stupid individuals in circulation. That includes you and me. Because no matter how cynical you think you are, you've still underestimated how many people are walking around completely unqualified to operate their own life, let alone influence yours. And the danger doesn't stop there. The second law is worse. He said, the probability that a certain person is stupid is independent of any other characteristic of that person. In other words, stupidity does not discriminate. It is not linked to intelligence, education, wealth, race, gender, or culture. A person can have 3 degrees from an Ivy League university and still be an active, unknowing agent of chaos. You see it every day, don't you? Highly educated experts making decisions that collapse entire systems. Politicians pushing policies that hurt their own people. Celebrities with massive platforms promoting lies they barely understand. And everyday citizens scrolling and reposting and rioting. Not for justice, not for truth, but because they feel like it. They don't even know they're stupid. That's what makes them so lethal. They believe they're right. Worse, they believe they're good. And when stupidity is wrapped in moral certainty, God help us all. Cipolla said there are 4 kinds of people in the world. He drew a matrix. One axis for whether a person's actions harm or help themselves. One for whether their actions harm or help others. From this he defined the intelligent, the helpless, the bandit, and the stupid. The intelligent person helps both themselves and others. The helpless helps others but harms themselves. The bandit helps themselves at your expense, and the stupid harms you and harms themselves at the same time. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? That someone would act in a way that brings no benefit to anyone, not even themselves. But that's exactly what happens. A person trashes their workplace and loses their job. A voter backs a politician who will destroy their future. A parent shames their child in public, then wonders why they're disrespected at home. They ruin things and don't even gain from the destruction. This is not a rare case. It's not an exception. It's a pattern. And it repeats itself, generation after generation, because no one is willing to name it. Because to call someone stupid is now seen as cruel, even though ignoring their stupidity is far crueler in the long run. Look around. This is the age of stupidity, of curated ignorance, of weaponized emotionalism, of people who know just enough to feel confident, but not enough to understand the consequences of their confidence. And you might be wondering, If they're so irrational, why are they so powerful? That's the dark twist. You see, intelligence has limits. Stupidity does not. Intelligent people hesitate. They ask questions. They imagine long-term effects. They feel the weight of responsibility. But stupid people, they act quickly, loudly, with no fear of being wrong, because they don't even understand the concept of being wrong. And in today's world, where the loudest voice gets the most attention, guess who wins? They flood the systems. They jam the gears. They elect each other. They breed faster than reason. They don't care about being accurate, logical, or honest. They care about feeling right. And you're stuck trying to debate with them, trying to explain, trying to appeal to reason. But Cipolla warned you cannot reason with the stupid, because they don't just misunderstand, they ununderstand. They take logic, chew it up, spit it out, and call it an opinion. And the final blow is this: they're not going anywhere. Stupid people are permanent, and they're evenly distributed. They live in the boardroom, in the comments section, at the dinner table, in the crowd. They hold degrees. They write books. They pass laws. They raise children. And still you're afraid to say it. You're afraid to name it. Because we've been trained to be polite, to be inclusive, to be tolerant. But tell me, what happens when stupidity becomes sacred? What happens when we fear offending fools more than we fear the consequences of their decisions? What happens when we let stupidity rule? Because it would be mean to fight back. We lose. We all lose. Civilizations collapse not just from war or greed, but from foolishness, from the silent rot of unchecked stupidity, from the 1,000 daily decisions made by people who have no idea what they're doing and no intention of learning. So, what can you do? First, you must see it. Strip the mask off. Stop giving people a free pass just because they're nice, or well-meaning, or educated, or rich. Look at the outcomes. Ask yourself, do their actions make life better or worse? Not what they say, not what they intend, what they actually do. And second, you must stop underestimating them. They are not harmless. They are not few. They are everywhere. And if you let them run your life, your business, your nation, don't be surprised when the whole thing burns down and they're standing in the ashes asking why. Because stupidity doesn't know it's stupid, and it never will. But you can know, you can see it, and once you do, you'll never unsee it again. You thought knowing was enough? You thought seeing the problem gave you the power to fix it. But knowledge doesn't make you immune. If anything, it makes you more vulnerable, because it makes you hesitate. It gives you the illusion that truth, logic, and reason will eventually win. They won't. Not on their own. Because stupidity doesn't care about being right. It doesn't care about truth. It doesn't even see truth. It moves through the world like a virus, spreading, mutating, immune to evidence, immune to shame. And here's the worst part: it thrives in power. That's the part people never understand until it's too late. They believe that to lead, one must be intelligent, that success and influence must be earned through merit. But the world doesn't run on merit. It runs on momentum, on noise, on attention. And stupidity has mastered all three. Stupidity in power is not a glitch in the system. It is the system. A stupid person in a high position is not just inefficient. They are a black hole, a gravitational force that pulls the intelligent downward. Because intelligent people, when working under the rule of stupidity, are forced to spend all their energy surviving, explaining, compensating, correcting, containing. They burn out trying to fix what never should have been broken. And the stupid, they just keep going, unaffected. Because they don't even notice the damage they cause. They call it just being real. They call it doing what feels right. They mistake destruction for boldness and chaos for character. And people follow them because simplicity is seductive. You see, intelligence complicates. It slows down. It asks questions. Stupidity, on the other hand, is confident. Stupidity speaks in certainties. It simplifies the world into yes or no, us or them, black or white. And in a time of confusion, people crave that simplicity, even if it's a lie. Cipolla warned you, us stupid people do not just harm themselves, they harm others and themselves. But most of all, they harm systems, they poison institutions, they destabilize economies, they corrupt conversations, and they do it without strategy, without ideology, without intent, just blind, flailing energy. It's not evil, it's worse. Evil has purpose, evil has goals. You can predict evil, but stupid is chaos, and chaos is impossible to contain once it's been legitimized. And this is what most intelligent people get wrong. They think they can isolate stupidity. They think if they just stay in the right profession, the right circle, the right echo chamber, they'll be safe. But stupidity doesn't stay in its lane. It spills, it leaks, it spreads into every conversation, every vote, every policy, every algorithm. And suddenly, you're living in a world built on decisions that make no sense, with rules that contradict themselves, enforced by people who think asking questions is dangerous. And you begin to feel it. The fatigue, the soul-deep exhaustion of watching the wrong people rise. The loudest people speak, the blind lead the blind. And the more you try to warn people, the more they call you the problem. Because intelligence is threatening, because nuance is hard, and because stupid people hate being reminded that the world is complex. So they ignore you, mock you, cancel you, or worst of all, promote you, so they can control you. It's no coincidence that bureaucracies are filled with them, that dictators surround themselves with them, that entire empires crumble when too many stupid people make too many irreversible decisions. And the truly terrifying part, they don't know what they're doing. They really don't. They believe they're helping. They think their actions make sense. They're not aware of their ignorance. They're not capable of being aware. Because stupidity, as Cipolla pointed out, is not the opposite of intelligence. It is the absence of self-awareness. And nothing is more dangerous than a person who cannot see the consequences of their actions, but has the power to act anyway. You may think this is just a societal flaw, a political issue, a temporary crisis, but it's deeper than that. It's psychological, it's neurological. Disgust, science tells us, is hardwired into the brain. And when we interact with someone who is truly, profoundly irrational, our brain reacts as if we've encountered spoiled food, or filth, or a contagious disease. Because stupidity is contagious. Not genetically, but socially. Spend enough time in a system that rewards stupidity, and you begin to lower your standards. You nod when you should speak. You tolerate when you should resist. You go along to get along. Until one day, you're part of the problem. Not because you're stupid, but because you were too intelligent to start a fight you knew you couldn't win. That is how civilizations decline. Not through conquest, but through decay. Through the slow, steady surrender of standards. Through the normalization of stupidity in high places. And don't fool yourself, this is not a problem, lot there. This is everywhere. In your workplace. In your family. In your government. In your mirror, even. Because we all have stupid moments. The difference is whether we learn from them or defend them. The rise of stupidity is not just a moral failing. It's a structural crisis. It's what happens when a society values comfort over truth, emotion over reason, noise over knowledge, and the only defense is vigilance, to see clearly, to call it what it is, without fear, without apology. Because as long as stupidity remains invisible, it remains unstoppable. You must learn to spot it, to understand it, to predict it, not just for your own survival, but because stupidity, once legitimized, consumes everything. And it doesn't stop until it reaches the top and then pulls the roof down on all of us. You feel it, don't you? That cold weight in the air, when you're speaking to someone and you realized they're not listening. Not really. They're not trying to understand. parroting slogans, drenched in certainty. Eyes blank, heart closed. You could show them evidence. You could show them history. You could bleed your intelligence dry on the altar of reason. And it would change nothing, because stupidity doesn't live in the mind. It lives below it, in the gut, in the tribal brain, in the part of us that doesn't want truth, just comfort, just affirmation. So what happens when that part of us takes control? We stop asking questions. We choose leaders not for their wisdom, but for their performance. We reward confidence over competence, and we begin to despise the intelligent, not because they're wrong, but because they make us feel small. And no one wants to feel small. That is why stupidity spreads. It flatters the mediocre. It inflates the insecure. It gives power to people who don't deserve it, and makes them believe they do. It offers simple answers to complex problems, and in a world starving for clarity, stupidity tastes like certainty. But certainty is a drug, and stupidity is the dealer, and the price. Truth, dignity, freedom. When stupidity rises, truth becomes offensive. Doubt becomes dangerous, and intelligence becomes a threat to be silenced, mocked, or exiled. We see this everywhere now, in politics, in institutions, in the slow rot of social media where the loudest voice drowns out the wisest, where stupidity becomes a brand, and every like, every click, every viral soundbite only feeds the fire. But it doesn't stop there, because stupidity doesn't just destroy from above, it erodes from within. Every time we ignore it, it grows. Every time we say, it's not worth the fight, it multiplies. And over time, it becomes the default language of the culture. We call it vibes. We call it energy. But it's decay, moral decay, intellectual decay, civilizational decay. You don't need a war to collapse a society. You just need to convince enough people that thinking is a waste of time. And so we arrive at the question we're all too afraid to ask out loud: how do you survive it? How do you protect yourself, your family, your soul, in a world where stupidity is not only tolerated but worshipped? First, stop believing you can fix it all. You can't. You will not debate stupidity into extinction. You will not out-argue the irrational. You will not convince those who don't want to know. Your mission is not to save them. Your mission is to see clearly, to know what you are dealing with, to prepare for the impact of their decisions on your life before it's too late. Second, guard your energy. Stupidity feeds on your outrage. It thrives on your attention. It loves when you get emotional, because emotion lowers your IQ. So protect your focus like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Third, do not become what you hate. That is the trap. That is how stupidity wins, by exhausting the intelligent until they lose their discipline, until they stoop to the same level, until they stop asking questions and start shouting answers. But a mind that shouts is a mind that can no longer listen, and listening is the last luxury of the intelligent. Fourth, educate relentlessly, but strategically. Don't cast your pearls before swine. Don't waste wisdom on those who refuse to hear it. Instead, strengthen them, sharpen them, form alliances of awareness, because the fight against stupidity is not a solo mission, it's a resistance. And no resistance survives without a network of the aware. Fifth, fortify your children. This world may belong to the stupid today, but it doesn't have to tomorrow. Teach them to think, teach them to doubt. Teach them to endure the loneliness of being right in a crowd that is wrong. Because intelligence without courage is useless, and courage without intelligence is suicide. Finally, remember this: stupidity is not a temporary condition. It is a permanent fixture of the human species. You cannot destroy it. You can only outlive it, outmaneuver it, outgrow it, and in rare moments outshine it. Because while stupidity is louder, wisdom is deeper. While stupidity is faster, truth lasts longer. And while stupidity may win battles, it never wins the war, because the world bends, slowly, painfully, toward intelligence, toward clarity, toward the few brave souls who chose to think when everyone else decided to feel. You must be one of them. Even when it hurts, even when it isolates you, even when it feels like no one understands. Because intelligence is a lonely path. But stupidity is a crowded cliff, and the moment you stop walking is the moment you fall with the rest. So keep walking, eyes open, mind sharp, voice calm, because in a world ruled by stupidity, clarity is rebellion, and truth, quiet, unwavering, inconvenient truth, is the only weapon that still matters, and it always will.